Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Love Restore. I am your host, Mashaun Olaniyan, and you are listening to KCCR Cityscapes. Listen, today we are talking about the successful habits of happy couples. But before we do that, let's talk about Love Restore and why I decided to start Love Restore. First of all, I decided to start Love Restore because, like many of you out there, I didn't get the tips, tools, strategies, or anything else like that from my parent or guardian, right? And when I went out into the dating world, I started bumping my head all over the place, dating men that I shouldn't have been dating. I was just doing the most, y'all. And I didn't get caught, meaning I didn't get like an early pregnancy or a disease I couldn't get rid of or anything like that. It was just, I needed the correct information on how to date, on how to be a great dater, on how to choose a great mate. And so I started Love Restore because I didn't receive that information. It took me now I'm in year 20. So it took me 20 years to get the information, 20 plus, I should say, 20 plus years to get the information that I'm able to come and share with you here. And so if I can help 1, 2, 10, 20, 1,000 people not go down the road that I went down, then I have fulfilled my God-given purpose. So that is why I decided to start Love Restored in order to help with the information that we should have gotten from our parent or guardian, but did not receive. So these are the tips and tools and strategies that you can take to implement into your love lives and into the relationship that you have with yourself in order to become better. Better as a person, better as a woman, better as a wife, better as a mother, better as a spouse, better as a friend, better as a daughter, just being better all around. So that is why I decided to start Love Restore. Today we're talking about the 7 successful habits that happy couples have. So without further ado, let's jump into success habit number 1. The first successful habit that happy couples, not just couples, happy couples have is that they talk, and talk some more. They talk a lot. They talk a lot about the things that are going on in each other's lives. They listen to one another, but they talk consistently. They make and find the time to make sure that they're talking. Listen, we know that the world gets busy. Happy couples' lives are no different than regular people's lives. They just make a conscious decision to continue to talk to one another. Excuse me, even if that means emailing one another. Emailing one another to make sure that they're consistently keeping in communication with one another. It could be talking through text. It could be talking face to face. Nonetheless, they are making efforts to make sure that they talk to one another, that they're making time to speak to one another, that they're taking the time to listen to each other so they can continuously learn about the other party that's across the table from them or lying next to them in the bed. So they talk a whole lot. And in this day and age, they may even FaceTime. But all of that is talking, conversing, listening to one another. They're understanding what's going on in each other's worlds. They're talking about all of the good. They're talking about all of the bad. They're also talking about the things that are in between the good and the bad. So talk more, just like the happy couples out there. The second successful habit that happy couples have is that they continuously keep up with dating one another. Most of them, have a specific date night on the schedule weekly, depending on their schedules. It might even fizzle down to a monthly, but they consistently keep a date night with one another to keep the connection, to keep the romance going. They know that it takes effort because world is going to come in. The world is going to come in. Problems are going to come in. The woes, the ups and downs, the family and friends that need your help, and that's going to take away from your relationship and your time and energy with your spouse. You may have to give it to your child or children. You may have to give it to a lot of people, but they make time to make sure that they stay connected. This is through the date nights. And on said date nights, they know that they are not speaking about the everyday business that happens within each and every relationship. So, what I mean by that is they're not talking about the bills. They're not talking about the child or children, especially if they have young children at the house. They're not talking about the young children. They may bring it up for a split second, but they have moved on to stay connected with who each other is. They're not mom and dad in this moment. They are whatever their names are, Marshawn and John. They are, whatever their names are. They are those people. They are not parents in that moment. They are connecting and dating. They may even talk about the next vacation that they're going on, right? They're talking about some things that may have happened in the office, but they're really trying to keep that stuff out of there. They're really keeping it fun. They're keeping it light. They're making sure that a whole lot of laughter is happening on the dates, and they are just engaging and loving the time that they're spending with one another. But the thing that happy couples do when it comes to date nights is that nothing gets in the way of them keeping this night with each other. It's on their calendar. Their employees know about it, or their business partners, whomever. Everybody in their life knows that this is a date that cannot be canceled. And they keep it as if it's a doctor's appointment, as if they need to go to the dentist, or as if they have to go to a court date. That's how important dating is, and keeping it on their calendar is for the both of them, not just one party. The third successful habit that happy couples have is making sure that they also spend time apart, keeping that autonomy between both of them, where they each get to go off and do whatever it is that they want to do in order to make themselves happy, in order to feel free, not as if they are in a relationship. But it's not that they're not in a relationship, they know that they are, but they just can be themselves. So if it was me, for instance, I can go out and be just Marshawn. I'm not Mrs. Whomever. I'm not ex's. I'm not his girlfriend. I'm not his wife. I'm just Marshawn. I'm not Odara's mom, as the kids call me. I'm Marshawn. I'm able to go and be who I want to be. If I want to go and take a course or a class, I'm just Marshawn in that course or class, right? If I want to go hang out with my friends, I'm just Marshawn with my friends. I'm not mommy, right? Or Odara's mom, as I just mentioned. I am just Marshawn, where I am able to just be me, enjoy the things that I want to enjoy the things that I am leaning into, that I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. Let me go and do that. Let me see if I really like this thing. I'm really engaging in the thing that I want to do. And he is also able to go off and do the exact same thing for himself in order to spend time apart. And then when you two get to come back together, you're able to talk and converse about what happened if you want to, but it's not a requirement. That could be held for the date night, or the times that they're just checking in with one another, where it's a quick 2 to 5 minutes of just checking in. How was your day? Really kind of going in a deep dive. How was your day? Okay. And then kind of parting and going on about the day, the business that happens while you're in a relationship. And especially if you have children at the house, there are things that are going to take you away from your spouse's time, and that you have to take care of those things as well. So making sure that not only is date night a priority, but also spending time apart from your spouse as well as from your children, so you can just be you, is also a priority with happy couples. They know that the autonomy is important. Being themselves, being able to do what they want to do, and not feeling like they need to answer to anybody. I can go out and be me, and you can go out and be you. The fourth successful habit that every happy couple has and does is they know that they must choose and pick their battles. Choose and pick their battles by letting all of the small things just slide. Is it really that important to argue, yell, and scream about a toilet seat being left up, I should say? Is it really that important to argue, scream, fuss, and fight about clothes that are on the ground? Is it really that important to argue, fuss, and fight about all of the dishes that are not washed, that are still sitting in the sink? They allow the little things to float away. They pick and choose their battles. because that's how important it is in order to remain happy with the person that you decided to choose. To say, yes, I'm choosing every day, I'm choosing to be in this relationship, but I'm also choosing to be happy. I will not allow what my spouse does, what they don't do, what they say, what they don't say, bring me down and steal and rob me from my joy. No, I'm choosing happiness, but I'm also choosing to stay in this relationship because not only do I like this person, I love this person, I want to continue to build a life with this person. That's okay. That's okay as well. And happy couples know that you have to pick and choose what you want to be mad about and what we need to take a deep dive into unraveling. Because it's just not that important to talk about every single detail. Because when a person is always pinpointing and nitpicking every little detail, the thing that you didn't do, because usually when they're doing it, they're not talking about the positive, they're always talking about the negative. And so if you're the person that's always nitpicking and nagging and talking about all of the things that your partner did wrong, they're like, why am I here? I can't do nothing right. So pick and choose your battles. Everything is not that serious. You do not have to talk about everything. It's just not that serious. You don't have to. You need to leave room open for the two of you to really connect on the things that really matter, that is going to push the needle forward in your relationship so the two of you can stay connected to one another and not allowing all of these menial things to pile up. You know what? Moving on to number 5, they accept. They accept one another for who they are. They accept one another for who they are. They accept the fact that they leave the toilet seat up. They just put it back down and use the restroom and move on with life as if it never occurred. They accept the fact that they are pretty messy. Okay, they either cleaned it up or they pay somebody so they can get back their time to make sure that the house is in order. Right? So nitpicking and nagging about all of these things that you are not receiving does not help to keep the two of you connected. It makes your partner feel as if they can never do anything right. And if you're always feeling like you can never do anything right to your spouse and for your spouse, how often are you going to be running home? Or are you going to conveniently find other things to do in order to stay away for longer? Your spouse is no different. So you just have to be conscious of how you are showing up and making sure that you truly accept your partner for who he is. Not trying to change him because you understand as the person and as the happy couple, right? The half of the happy couple, you understand that you cannot change anybody. That person must be willing to do the work to change themselves because you do not have control over changing that person. Only they do. Just like you can't control him, he can't control you. All of the choices and decisions that you decide to make are yours to make and yours alone to own. His as well. So he has to accept you for who you are and not try to change you unless that's something that you want to do. And guess what? You must also honor and not try to change him and accept him fully for who he is today, as if he will never change. And if he never changes, loving him for who he is, not for who you want him to be or who he should be. It's who he is right now in this moment. And it's all good. Before I move into success habit of happy couples, that number 6, before I move into that, let's go ahead and pay some bills. So you are listening to KCCR Cityscapes Radio. I am your host, Mashaun Olaniyan, and this is Love Restored. Thank you so much for being a part of the family. Thank you so much for being a part of our blog. Thank you so much for sharing the station with some of your friends and your family members because it is consistently growing, and we appreciate you helping us to grow by sharing it with your people and allowing them to come and to subscribe not only to the magazines, because we have a digital magazine as well as a print magazine, right? Not only by doing that, you're also sharing exactly the message that we want to share to our community, which is a more positive outlook on what we're bringing to the table. So I am Mashaun Olaniyan. I am the relationship coach here, right? But we also have other coaches and people that are just bringing the news, if you will, the way that we want it to be showcased from people that look like you, that are actually giving it the real. We're talking about how numbers don't lie. We're giving you music. We're talking about how to keep your children and your family up to date. And all of those things matter, because if we can nurture the kids and nurture you, and this is generation after generation, now how can our community lose? It cannot. So thank you so much for sharing the station, sharing episodes like this, coming back time and time again, listening to episodes, and subscribing to the magazine, and just allowing the community to grow. We want to thank you for that. So without further ado, let's jump into the 6 success habits of happy couples. The 6th one is they fight fair. Happy couples understand that they must fight fair. If they start fighting and hitting below the belt when they are angry, people don't forget that. What we remember is how people made us feel. And if you are a part of making your partner feel like he doesn't matter, or that he's a piece of trash, or he's going to be like somebody that he has told you he doesn't want to be like, but you consistently remind him that he is going to be like that person, how is that winning? How is that keeping you two connected? Happy couples know that fighting fair is literally all about focusing on the problem and not fighting below the belt by digging at one another. They're like, you know what? This is what the problem is. The problem is we have not been out on a date. Remember I talked about that? So they're making sure that it's a priority. So maybe this is their issue. Happy couples are like, you know, we haven't been out on a date in a while. So the problem is, how can we make sure that we get out on a date? And then they figure out how to resolve the issue. They're not going down the road of blaming. We haven't been out on a date because you've been working too much. You've been doing X, Y, and Z, or you've been doing X, Y, and Z, or both of you been doing X, Y, and Z, and not connecting, not keeping the date night, in this case, honoring it. So now they're like, okay, we want to make sure that we get back on track. This is my solution that I'm bringing to the table to make sure that we can get back on track. Is this something that you can do? And now they go down to having the conversation about, well, you know what? This doesn't work for me. This works for me. And so now they're going back and forth to try to figure out what works for the both of them so they can come up with a resolution. So now in this case, they can get back on track with their date nights. You see, they're not blaming one another. They're not consistently pointing the finger or hitting below the belt, and you're just like X, Y, and Z. You're just like your father. He drank too much, you drink too much. You're just like your mama. She walked away. They're not doing any of that. Problem is the focus. Fighting fairly. Fighting fairly is focusing on the problem and then getting the solution to said problem, so this issue can be put to bed. They fight fairly, and they don't bring up any sensitive information that was shared with them when the person was being vulnerable, in the place where they thought that they were safe to divulge their information. They don't do that. This is where happy couples remain happy, and they're super happy with the choice that they made and the partner that they made it with. Right? So the 6th way, or 7th way, I think I'm on 7 actually. The 7th way that happy couples or remain happy. I can't even think. They remain happy is that they make sure that they stay intimate with one another. The intimacy could be just the touching. The intimacy could be the conversations, as I mentioned. The intimacy could be sex. The intimacy could be anything that makes them feel good while being in each other's company. They make sure that the areas of vulnerability are showcased to one another. They talk about all the things that they are having trouble with, all the things that they are wrestling with, all the things that are bringing them anxiety and even worried about, the things that they're dealing with that are not great, but also the things that they are dealing with that are great as well. So they're making it balanced. But a lot of times when we talk, we usually talk more about the negative portions of us, right? The things that we haven't figured out, the things that keep us worried, the things that keep us up at night. And that's okay. These are the intimate moments where you're showcasing and connecting, staying connected, as we talked about earlier, because happy couples know that easy. It's easy to fall off the bandwagon and to go into your own cave and do your own thing. Well, they don't want to do that. They want to make sure that they consistently share and be open about where they are. And of course, that communication is all throughout what I'm talking about right here. All about it. All about communication, where happy couples come into play. Staying intimate with one another. They're making sure that they're not using sex as a weapon. Sex is not a weapon in happy couples relationships. Sex has a place. They put it in their place. They have sex when it's needed, when it's time, and they move on with their lives, right? But they make sure that their place has a safe haven for each of them to open up and just be themselves. If crying is needed in that moment, they allow space for each other to release their tears without judgment, without making them feel like you shouldn't have did that with me. Ooh, boy, I got some things to use against you later. No, they are there for them in the times of happiness as well as their very low moments. But they stay intimate in all facets. They stay intimate with one another. And here's my bonus. My bonus is that everything that you heard me talk about today, them talking, them dating, spending time apart, letting the small things slide, fighting fairly, accepting one another, staying intimate, all of that is under the umbrella of this bonus, which is they make a conscious effort with one another to stay connected to one another. The date night, they're making an effort to put it on the calendar and to show up for that. The talking, they're making an effort to make sure that the person sees them face to face. Text, if I'm too busy, let me make sure I get an email to you, but I'm talking to you, I'm conversing with you, I'm letting you know what's exactly happening in my day, as well as the things that have highs as well as my lows. But we're talking about all of these things. The spending time apart, they're making an effort to spend time apart, so when they do come back together, they have even more to share, even more connection points. They're making all of these efforts. They're making sure that they don't nag and bring up every little thing. They are choosing their battles to fight. They're allowing the little things to slide. They're making sure that they're having conversations about the big things that are going to move the needle, that are going to shut down the arguing side. They want to be happy. They know the arguments come up, but happy couples don't really argue per se. What they do is they have an adult conversation without blaming, without shaming, without making the other person feel guilty. All of that is making the effort. Them fighting fairly with one another is making the effort of not hitting below the belt and not bringing up the sensitive information that was shared in confidence. Making sure that they are focusing on the problem and not one another and what one another is not doing or bringing to the table. They making sure that they are fighting fairly. That is making effort. They're making the effort to accept one another for who they are today, not for somebody that they're trying to, make them become today. No, they know who they are today. They know who they're married to today. And they're like, I accept him. I accept that he don't put down a toilet seat. I accept the fact that he's not as romantic as I would like for him to be. I accept the fact that you can fill in the blank. Where are you lacking in your acceptance of your partner? Happy couples have all 7 of these areas mastered, which is why they seemingly, it seems like they don't have any issues. They do. They're human. They go through ups and downs just like any other relationship. The difference is how they handle these arguments and things and life that's coming at them. It's how they handle it. You want to be more happy in your relationship? Figure out how you're handling the conflicts and the life changes that come your way. Happy couples make the effort to stay intimate. They do not use sex as a weapon. They make an effort to say, this is what I need. This is what I need. Okay, I can give you this, or maybe I can't give you this. Because the truth of the matter is, your partner is not going to be able to give you everything. Your partner is going to disappoint you at some point. Accepting him for who he is and not for who you want him to be is how you will be a part of the statistics under this success habits of happy couples. I am your girl, Mashaun Olaniyan. I want to thank you for taking 30 minutes out of your day to spend this time with me whenever you are listening to this or even watching this. I really appreciate the time, energy, and effort that you have come here. My question to you and my challenge to you is, what are you willing to do today in order to change and shift your life around so you can have a better tomorrow? This is including but not limited to in all areas of your life. But just like these 7 successful habits that happy couples have, what 1 or 2 are you going to pick out today and actively start working on in your relationship so you can up your game and up the level in your relationship so you can be a part of the happy couples that have successful couples that have happy lives. I love you guys, and there's nothing that you can do about it. Thank you so much for inviting your family and friends to be a part of the neighborhood. This is Love Restored on KCCR Cityscapes. I will see you on the next Love Restored.